I got Lazaro Gonzalez from Kairos Pest Control in Coral Gables, Florida, and we're going to be discussing his journey on this podcast. Hey, Laz, welcome to the podcast, man.
Hey, good morning, Frank. I'm happy to be here, man. Been watching you for a while, and it's an honor, really a privilege to be able to join you for a conversation.
Yeah, bro, we met. It was really funny. I'm going to let you tell the story about how we actually met. That was pretty funny.
Oh, gosh.
So that was cool, but let's go ahead and so people know a little bit about you. How did you get started, and when did you get started in pest control?
Funny enough, I was in the banking industry for many years, and I had a very close friend of mine that he was working for Orkin, their commercial division.
Okay.
And I was getting tired of banking, being behind the desk, the 9 to 5. And this buddy of mine was telling me what was the potential to make in the pest control industry. I couldn't believe it. So then I took the jump from banking suit and tie to picking up dead rats from a glue board, and I hated it for about the first 3 months. And man, it just grew into me, and I started liking it. And this was back in 2012.
Okay.
I did that jump from banking industry to pest control. It was a journey.
Yeah, I bet. So how long did you work at commercial? You did mostly commercial?
Yeah, so we mostly specialized in the commercial. My area was Medley, Hialeah, and I did that. That was in 2012.
Okay.
And I was with Orkin for 4 years.
Okay.
So from 2012 to 2016.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Man, and then that bug starts biting you of, man, the what ifs. I've learned this for 4 years. I've been in this industry.
Right.
There's things I want to do on my own. There's things I believe that, sometimes in a big corporate world, there's certain things you can't do that perhaps, are dear to you, good service, good, all that entails to that end. And that started, itching me to want to do a jump.
Right.
And say, man, I'm gonna start. And it was tough, but me and my wife had that conversation. She cried for about an hour. Are you crazy? How are you gonna leave this job? A good paying job, very good paying job. She's like, are you crazy? We got 2 kids. What are you doing? And I'm like, man, you feel that fire. Like I feel like this is gonna work. And man, I did the jump. Haven't looked back since.
And what year was that?
That was in 2016.
2016.
June 2016.
Gotcha. So it took you about you started where in
2012.
In 2012. So and you did that jump. And how's it been?
Man, let me tell you, you learn a lot about yourself in when you are the one doing everything. You're doing everything from accounting, sales, and it tests you, but it's good because it helps you grow as an individual. So I learned how terrible I was with organizational skills, budgeting, things I didn't even go to school for. But you pick up along the way. You meet people like you that you learn from. So it's been a journey, man. Tough at times, but growing and learning.
Right. So you made a jump. Now, what do you specialize in now, mostly?
Honestly, I specialize really in both commercial, residential. Okay. I have the background of commercial just because it's what we specialized in, big warehouses that have auditing needs. So that's really was my forte. But I've learned little by little more residential.
Right.
So yeah, basically those two.
Yeah, no, I would have found that if you were in commercial, that doing residential would be a lot easier because commercial is way more complicated. You have too many dynamics that you don't have in residential. You don't have the constant input of product that you don't know where it's been. So yeah, residential to me is a whole lot easier than commercial. So you had probably a good advantage that you started in commercial, and then now you can do both. It just allows you. What's been your experience like? Do you enjoy one more than the other? Do you miss the commercial? What do you prefer?
Yeah. Man, I love commercial just for the fact that it's what I know, it's what I know. Food warehouses, it's what I did for a while. I'm liking residential more than ever just because, you get that personal touch, you know, you got that personal touch with the customer. And it's funny because commercial, it could be, it has more dynamics, but I learned that with residential, it's delicate. Like, you know, you're going
Right.
into a home. I'm not used to putting shoe covers on my boots when I'm going
Right.
into a home. I'm learning that. So I think you have to be much more delicate. And that's something I've learned with residential. And it's helped me, you know, it's helped me obviously in the commercial side as well.
Right. I'll edit this out, but go ahead and look to your right or your left. Because
This
the
side
camera, yeah, because the camera is on your left, I think. Because you're looking
here.
at, yeah.
Ah, okay.
I
I'm
think
not
you're,
too good with these things.
I think you were looking at your button, so I wanted to make sure you're looking over here because I kept, why is he looking over there? I think you were looking at notes or looking at yourself. Just look at the camera. Don't worry about that. I'll make sure.
Got you.
I'll make sure you look good. Yeah. So you're yeah. I mean, it is you're dealing with most of the time high-end residential because we know that the majority of people that buy pest control are usually in an upper income. They're much more
Yeah.
demand. You know, you do have, you're going into somebody's home where it's not somebody's business, where it's, you know, a little bit more personal when you're in their home versus you're in their restaurant. And I did both, and I found that the customer behaved differently and when they were in
Yeah.
their business that when they're in their home. And a lot of the time, the pricing and how when I dealt with them in their home, there was no issue with pricing. All of a sudden, I'm dealing with their business, and it's like pricing is an issue because, you know, they're in that business mentality, and it's a whole psychological thing that is happening
Yeah.
with the client. So I've had that experience both ways. And so you're covering, let's say you're covering pretty much all of Miami-Dade right now.
Yeah. So we do from Homestead all the way to just almost getting to Broward.
Okay.
We don't do a lot up there up north,
Right.
but pretty much that's our area.
Yeah, got it. All right, so I want you to tell the story.
Oh my gosh.
Because this is funny, bro. And I just
It is, bro.
it's a funny story. How we met, and you get to tell it because I'm not going to tell it. How we met and how we started discussing, and you know, I started helping you with stuff. And just go ahead and tell that because I think that was hysterical. People get a kick out of this.
This is funny, man. This is funny. So pretty much I'm having an ant issue primarily in my home.
Right.
This is what's funny of corporate America. You know, you belong to a big company, which I honor them. You know, I learned a lot from them.
Right.
But there's a lot of things you don't learn.
Right.
And one of the things is ant identification when there's so many species here, right, that you deal with in Florida. And I was having an issue with a particular ant that I could not fix. Right. Then again, I didn't know too much from what I learned from your video, which when we get to that point, I didn't know that there were specific baits, just different things. So I couldn't handle this ant issue at home. Like it was driving me nuts. Right. So I ended up calling Truly Nolan, and I made believe I was a customer and try to get information out of them. What do they do? So I set up an appointment with them to come do an inspection. And I was about to pay the $300 they were going to charge me just to see what this guy does for this ant issue. So I go to YouTube and I put, I forgot how I searched it, but I pretty much put ant control in Miami or something like that. And your video came out. Right. And in your video, it was on big-headed ants, which I didn't know that was the species I was dealing with. Right. And in your video, I saw how you walked through everything. You identified the ant. I'm like, bro, who is this guy? And it says that you're in Miami. Right. And I'm like, I got to get a hold of this guy and pay him to come to my house, whatever it costs. So I got your contact info. I never told you I was a business owner. I called you. I never told you that I am a pest control owner that cannot handle a pest issue at my home. And I made believe that I was just a customer. And man, what blew me away, you know, it's not to flatter you, but you're kind, and you pretty much educated me on the phone without asking for $1. And I felt comfortable to say, man, this guy, he's that generous to give information like that and not look at me as just another $1. I'm going to tell them who the heck I am. And I tell Frank, man, you know what? I am a business owner, and I feel ashamed to tell you this. And this is, I could not solve this issue. And man, that's how I met you. I was a business owner looking for a solution at any cost. And I came across you and I admitted it to you. We had a laugh out of it. And man, we connected. Until now, I've learned so much from you, but it was funny. That's how we met.
but this is where people don't get me. That this is, I put out the videos and I give the information for free, and
Yeah.
I do this podcast for the last going on 6 years now, and I educate anyone who calls me on the phone. I get calls from all over the country. People like, I'm trying to
It's
solve the
awesome.
problem and I can't solve it, and they're not even my customer. And they're
It's
customers,
awesome.
people. So people don't get that. That's how I'm wired. That's how I'm built. That by nature, I don't try to be something that I'm not. I just
Yeah.
do this because everybody that calls me, I educate them on the phone of what they're struggling with,
Yeah.
and that's just who I am. And I
Yeah.
and I got I got texts from all over the country calling me, asking me for stuff because they're having a difficult time. Obviously, I don't have the answers because I don't know everything that goes on in every state, but I
Yeah.
pretty much know what I've dealt with for the last 12 years. And then I actually invited you along because I wanted you to
Yeah.
see how I actually did that service on a property. And I took you to one of my properties, and
You
I said,
did.
and we pretty much spent it under the rain because it rained that whole. We were there for
With the
like 2
Panera
hours.
bread.
Yeah, and then
With the Panera bread.
we went to Panera, which you bought, which I thank you. So that was payment enough for what I did for you. And yeah, and it was so really, it's actually simple. It's easy. Sometimes it's not simple.
Yeah.
The process, because you're right, you don't get trained on a lot of things, and especially when you have a narrow field, like say like commercial, which you
Yeah.
might not even come across that. So we did that, and then I also, you were having it, where you were treating. The other thing is that we were discussing is business stuff, and
Yes.
the stuff that you were dealing with in your business, because you were still growing. You were still a growing company, and one of the major problems that I discussed with you was the issue of that we only did exterior service. Yeah, so we started talking about your process and my process and what I do and what you do, and I, discovered that you were doing both inside and out, and you were having a huge scheduling problem because every single job that you had to do, you had to schedule it, and then you had to call the client and make sure the client was home so that you can do the job. Where I said, I've been doing this for 12, 13 years, and
Yeah.
we only do the exterior only, and we don't have any callback problems.
Yeah.
And I bet you were doubtful at that time that it can actually be done.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
tell me about your experience there, what your thought process was, the transition you made, how you actually got it done. Because I told you, tell your customers, you're going to switch from this to this, and you're probably thinking they're not going to buy it. And then I told you how to tell them. And so tell me about that whole experience that you had with that situation.
Yeah. So, man, it's really all about being open to the new. And that's really when I started learning from you. It's being reprogrammed. And I think sometimes, we're creatures of habit,
Right.
and we will just stick to one way just because it's the only way.
Right.
So when you told me that, I'm like, that's impossible. Like, no, how's that possible? So I started implementing the things that you suggested. The first month was tough because I wanted to just go back to what I was used to as far as, the treatment in the exterior. What are the different things you need to look for? Perhaps a little more detail, just because there was more education to help me, what I got to find, see. And at the end, it made me more efficient. It made my scheduling, my time blocks so much more smoother. I had more openings. So overall, it was uncomfortable at first to adjust to something new. It's being educated, re-educated. And I think it helped me learn, man, that we have to be open sometimes to the new, and everyone has something to bring to the table. And that's what I learned with that, the first month was uncomfortable doing things differently, but I saw the results after 1 month, and everything really, even in what was our expenses for product costs, just everything. It worked. So it was just the first month of adjusting was tough,
Right.
Trying to get out of those 30 days of what I used to do.
Right.
And yeah, man. So it's worked, and we're still learning new things, but definitely being open to that.
How are you able to communicate that to your client? Because I know there's an issue of trust, and then there's the issue also of, you know, believing and that self-esteem, that
Yeah.
trusting that this is going to work when you don't know. So how was that with the client? How did that conversation go, and how did they accept it? And for you
Yeah.
not going inside anymore, what was that like?
So, man, I think, you know, when you communicate from an honest place, there's
Right,
no strings attached to it. You're
right,
not trying to cut corners. But when you really help educate them, and what you yourself are being educated, you know, obviously you communicate it from a place of confidence, from a place of, you know, you are the professional.
right,
And when you just show that honesty, that transparency, and obviously, I mean, these customers, we've had a relationship for a while. I mean, I've been servicing their homes for quite a while, so I've earned that relationship, that trust. And when you're just a person that approaches your clients like that,
right,
your business, and you got just that good ethic that you're trying to still grow in, man, you'll be surprised how trustworthy a customer will be of you. And
right,
hey, you're the professional. Is that what's gonna work? Then that's it. I trust you. And it was awesome. Of course, you get some customers that, you know, to them, they're just like you in one sense, that they're just used to one thing. And when you're telling them this is something better, it's going to produce better results. It's better overall. And it just goes back to communicating with that honesty and transparency, and that you really care for them. At the end of the day, that's why, you know, I did a switch like that.
right.
It wasn't about profit. It was just about being more efficient and doing what seems to be better, right? And when you show that, they're gonna read that off you, and they're gonna just trust you and say, "Man, you are the person I've hired to do this, and we trust you."
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it was.
Yeah, with me, it was always about never, it was never, this didn't happen in my transition because my specialty was L&O.
Yeah, you
And
told me that's true.
yeah, and I did get a referral from one of your clients that did refer me, or that you referred to me, that wanted L&O for her property. She was buying a new home. And
Awesome.
yeah, so I thank you for that. I forgot to call you and say thank you.
I wish more would have called you, but that's
Yeah.
awesome.
No, that we got that done. But what I discovered, mine was by serendipity. It wasn't like I actually set out and did this. Initially, we couldn't sell general household residential pest control to any of our clients. You know, most people will do, you know, you do the upsell. You sell the lawn and they say, hey, by the way, we'll add on the house for so much.
Yeah.
With us, we couldn't do it to save our life because we kept asking people, listen, what about if we add your home? I thought they had another company. And it says, no, ever since you started doing our lawn, this is what I kept hearing. Ever since you started doing our lawn service, we don't have any more ads. And I was thinking, like, how is this? So I kept asking everybody. I started going through all my clients, and they were all the same. Nobody. And then all of a sudden, maybe one would start having an ant issue, and they would call me, and I would just treat that one time, and they wouldn't have it again for 6 months. So what I found is that if we were doing a good job on that exterior, it must have been the lawn care. They
Yeah.
weren't having any issues inside. So after that, about a year of me doing all this, 2 years, I took an IPM course for commercial IPM. I think it was at that time by, the company is no longer, they got bought out, which was a prescription treatment. I'm sure you're
Okay.
familiar with prescription treatment. They were a manufacturer. They're no longer around.
Okay.
And they had a course on IPM for commercial and residential. And it was a 1-day course on all of their product line, everything. And then all of a sudden I was introduced to crack and crevice and baiting. And I
Yeah.
never knew any of that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden I said, with this, with IPM, and that was a new term for me, integrated pest management, that it's about reducing and only using a pesticide when needed inside.
Yes.
And so after like 2 years, I went to all my clients that I had gotten GHP it was about 5%. It wasn't that many. And I said, listen, we've got this new process called IPM. And it's like explaining penicillin for the first time. You take a shot here of a bacteria and it cures the coat up here. It didn't make any sense to people. And so I did that. And I said, look, we're going to switch you over to this. We're only going to do the outside. We're only going to, it's better for your family. I always felt uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
because spraying the inside of a house, especially when they were little children, with a chemical, I just always, it was just in me that I just felt so uncomfortable. And even outside, the reason I started getting into IPM and organics is because with lawn and ornamental, we use 10x more chemical than residential pest control, because you're spraying and hosing everything down on that property. And I felt so guilty all of the time for some reason about unnecessarily having to put all this chemical out. And I was taking classes from manufacturers who were like, well, you have to add this product, and always spray with this, always a fungicide, always an herbicide. And then I started doing research on IPM. So what about this IPM for, you know, agriculture and all this? And I started learning that whole process. And I started, like, I can actually reduce and get rid of all this product and educate my customers and reduce it for them. And it was out of a conscientious thing that I had. It was never about the business and the profit. It just turned out that it made everything in my more efficient. I reduced the chemical cost. I reduced the time that I had. I didn't have to hire a person to make phone calls and call them to schedule appointments. So we're only scheduling appointments maybe 5% of the time. And our callback rates were like nothing, but it was originally no callbacks because we didn't even have the business. We couldn't even get the business. It was ridiculous. So then I got into pest control, and we rebranded the company as an, you know, natural and all this, and we started incorporating natural and borate baits and making it even more eco-friendly. And this is what I try to teach everybody, that a lot of what you've been told from the customer side, or a lot of what they've been sold, doesn't need to be done, and a lot of what you've been taught doesn't really need to be done to
get
the control. So to me, it's more of an issue of ethics and being greener and helping that client. And today, now, we didn't get this back then. People like have a little dog. They never asked me if this was toxic. All of a sudden, everybody's asking, is this toxic for the dog? Is this toxic for the kid? Exactly. So for us, it was just about educating ourselves and re-educating ourselves. And since I didn't come from the industry, I didn't have any pre-concepts that I had to overcome. I pretty much just was accepting things when it was new, because I'm very progressive in that thinking of doing new things. So to me, it was easy. So that was it. And then, you know, we just started, you know, and I know that you're growing, and we're in the same city, and people don't get it. It's like, you educate your competitors. I'm like, I do it all the time. I have people from all over in my city calling me. I've trained so many people to do lawn and ornamental. It's ridiculous. About 90% of them drop out because it's hard. It's much harder than GHB, but I still do it. And they really are going to sell to their clients. And I have brand. And when I have brand, I focus more on that people are looking for me for what I offer, not for what you're doing, because you're doing it pretty much with your clients. So that's, you know, just been for me. So let me ask you this, Go, because you've got an interesting name for your company. It's like, I noticed that because I saw it before when we were at Univar. I would see your truck, and I would say, that's a funny Greek name to name a company, because I know that's a Greek name. How did you come up with that? What's the name of the company? It's Kairos, right?
Kairos Pest Control.
Kairos Pest Control. Okay. How did you come up with that? What was the thinking behind that?
It's funny, because it's a Greek word, and it means the moment to take action.
Right.
And then there's another meaning, which is the reason I incline more to it. You know, it had to do with my faith. You know, I'm a believer Christian.
Right.
And the word Kairos, when you read in the Bible, it has to do with the moment that it's God's timing, when He just steps into someone's life for the good, changes, blessing. It's just a Kairos moment in someone's life that they encounter blessing, this goodness of God. So, you know, I always said, man, I don't know how that's going to work for a company, but I always had that in the back of my head, you know, Kairos, man, if I ever open up a company. And I took it to the individual that designed my logo. And when I saw that, how he put it out, the different logos, and man, it just fit right, Kairos. And the only double-edged sword with that is that people think my name is Kairos. So when they call me Kairos. So I'm like, I didn't think of that, man.
Yeah. Well, that's okay.
You know, I'm like, Kairos, that's fine, man. That's why you want to know me. But that's how I came across it, Kairos. I love that word, the meaning. And yeah, man, what's funny is that the color that always stuck out to me was green for some reason. And it's funny because, you know, in this journey that I've been on. And I love what you were saying about you become more conscious. And like what you were saying, there was for a while I was dealing with that, you know. I was trained to do this. You spray here, you spray there. It's kind of like everything is a base sport spraying. Of course, I always approached everything responsibly according to the label. But still, even then, there's something better we could be doing. And I felt that, like, man, but I just wasn't educated in it. And that's why I think people like you, and I think it's important because there's so many companies that it's not that they're doing it from a wrong place. It's just what they've been taught, and it's taught wrong. I was watching on Instagram not too long ago, a company that, man, they had like 7,000 followers, and all their posts were new clients they were acquiring. But when you look at the video of how they're doing their pest control, this individual was literally broadcast spraying on top of a kitchen sink window and just spraying all the utensils, the plates. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, those are the things that I see, and I'm like, no, like, that's so not good. And it gave me a desire, like, man, I want to learn, how can I do something better? And that's when I came across you, and I said that I honor you, man. I honor you, and really I'm thankful for your life, and I really believe that your level of influence is going to spread, because ever since I've been able to re-educate myself, what's the right way of doing it, the right way of doing pest control, because there is a right way that is least impacting to the environment, to your customer. There is, and it works. And I didn't believe you when you told me, listen, if you have any reason to go inside a home to do something, use these borderline green products, baits. And I'm like, that doesn't, no, what do you mean? And it works. So it's just being educated. And I'm thankful, man, that you didn't see me as competition, but you saw me as someone that you can educate. And I'm forever grateful. And I know I told you that a lot, but it's helped me and made me more confident.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is you can't sell something that you don't believe in. That's the thing. So you have to really believe in what you're selling, and when you don't, and when you know it works. There are a lot of people who believe they're selling junk, and they're selling, but when you come from a place of, hey, look, this is tested. We know it works. It works in hospitals. It works in government buildings. It works in places that are highly sensitive. It's just more time consuming. And when you're initially, and that's where what I try to educate my clients is, look, initially it's going to be more expensive. We have to do more visits. We have to do a lot more hours. But once we get that cleaned up, maintaining it is just the same cost as everybody else after that.
Exactly.
And you're having less interruptions. You don't need to be home. You don't need to take off from work. You don't need to. We're going to handle it, and we're going to be there. We're going to service you. If you've got a problem, we respond. It's like, when you call, I tell my techs we have two priorities: callbacks and new customers. Everything gets handled in that priority. Everything else that's maintenance can wait. So your first day, you're going to handle those complaints, because I believe in treating people the same. When we flew out there the first time when they called us, we flew out there to get the business. So when there's a problem, that's when people really know that you're serious, is when you get called and you fly out there like right away, the same enthusiasm, not like, oh my God, I got to go because it's a callback, but because we do it with the same enthusiasm. That brings an enormous amount of value to our client, where they don't get that from other people who are, frustrated because they got a lot on their plate. We don't service as individuals as many clients when you were in commercial, where you had 15, 20 stops a day, where we're now treating 6, maybe 12 at the most, if you're on a good day. So there's an enormous amount of value that you and I, as an independent person, bring, and it's that relationship, it's that personal treatment, is that you're not a number to the client. That is what I really get passionate about helping pest control people elevate, bring up their game, be more competitive, lower their costs at the same time, so they can compete with the big guys. Because they're out there selling on price a lot of the time, and you have to compete with that. You've got the contracts. Our customers usually don't want a contract. No. We've never had a contract. So those are things that when you're taking care of your clients, you're doing this stuff, you're bringing the latest technology to your clients, that now you have access to the latest technology, same as the big guys, that makes you
Yeah.
super competitive. And you know
Exactly.
what? And you know, it's funny how God brings people into your life, because I'm a believer too, and we've discussed it. And
Yeah.
and it's just, to me, is that I have complete trust in what God is doing in my life
Man.
to bring me the business, to bring me the people. You know, the
Yeah.
world calls that reciprocity. In scripture, you know, it's funny because there's one verse that's the one that made the impact in my life to give. It isn't that you're going to get back. It's
Yeah.
never been that's never been the motivator. It was the one where Paul says that Jesus said it was better, it was more blessed to give than to receive. That was
Yeah.
it. And the funny part is that you can't find Jesus saying that anywhere in the Bible. You have to trust Paul that he actually heard Jesus saying it.
So good.
And to me, it's never been about, well, if I give, I'm going to get so much in return. I'm going to get 10x. It was more of, you're more blessed, which is counter to the culture.
So good, bro.
Everybody is wanting to receive, receive, receive,
Yeah. Yeah.
but nobody wants to give. And they don't see the blessing in giving.
Yeah.
Even when it doesn't come back to you immediately, it eventually will.
Yes.
And you don't have to worry about that because that's in God's hands.
Exactly.
So that's
Exactly.
you're trusting, and you're in a place of trust. And when you're in a place of, I'm just trusting and I'm believing, and I don't need
Yeah.
to have the immediate reward, because a lot of the times you know, I look at it as in your business, it's the same way. I'm very practical when it comes to scripture,
Yeah.
because I understand farming, I understand agriculture. You don't get to sow a seed and see that return sometimes for a year. You plant an avocado seed, you have no guarantee that you're going to get a fruit for the next 14 years.
Yep.
But you still have to water it. You still have to prune it. You still have to tend it, even when there's nothing giving you and when that avocado comes out, there's not even chance that you're going to get the same avocado. As a matter of fact, you got a chance, 99.99% chance. It's not even going to be the same, and it's not even going to be that good. And you spend all this time, you don't get to harvest, and you have to sow a lot. So if you want to get a lot back later in life, you got to sow early on in life into people.
Yes, sir.
And,
So
and,
good, bro.
and you do that with your clients. Take that and apply that to your clients. You know, sow into your clients. You know, you're there and you saw something, and they're not paying you to treat it, but you're saying, heck, I'm already here and it's only 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Let me fix that for that client. You know, hey, look, I saw your avocado tree. I just did it. By the way, you know, in the future, it'll be this much, but I just saw it now. It's really bad. I felt bad for you. I went ahead and treated it.
Yeah.
And, you know, those are the things that we have to do in our business that makes us different than big corporate, where they're only thinking about really sometimes about the bottom line.
About receiving.
And about receiving, because they got the shareholders. We are the shareholder. And and we have to take care of our own farm and our own things. So, dude, it's the more that we can. This is why I want everyone, and I do it for free, because I want everyone that's in a situation like you that's struggling, because you got to feed, like your wife. She's wondering, how the heck is he going to make this happen?
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything about business. You know, he how is he going to do it? And it's that faith thing. But if I've had people where they've heard some of my podcasts and launched them to do it. And they actually went and listened to everything I said, and they did it. And they've been successful. This is not that hard. It's not that hard of a business.
It isn't. You're right. You're very right.
It's not that difficult. It's about doing 2 or 3 things extremely well, and just keep doing it and duplicating it, and you can grow it. And then it's about, you know, when you want to hire, getting into the hiring and understanding that part now.
Yeah.
And it's all about taking people by the hand. I look at what I do. I've got a mission with the gospel of IPM.
I like that. I like that.
I have the gospel of IPM, and I'm looking for disciples, and I make disciples, and I take people by the hand and I help them, you know, to do this, because those are the people that need it most. The guy with 10, he's already figured it out.
Yeah.
The guy who's just making $1.5 million, and 2 million and 6 million, those guys got everything figured out. It's the little guy that nobody's really, and when you go to CEU training, what I give, you don't get that in CEU training, because everything in CEU training is about compliance.
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time you actually got into, you've been in it 6 years and you've gone to CEU training every single year, and nobody's taught you on big-headed ant.
Yeah, it's true. There's things that don't get touched on.
I went through a period of 8-9 years where there's stuff that I never learned. I never learned about mode of action. And I got guys coming and say, bro, I've been in this 16 years. I've never heard of the things you're talking about. It's because every type of teaching is done from the issue of compliance, not out of, I want people to know so they can grow their business, so they can be better technicians. It's usually on the issue of compliance.
Yeah.
And that's what I want people to get. So, anything that you want, or anything you're having trouble with that we can discuss on this podcast that I can help you with.
Yeah, one of the things I've been getting a lot of calls for is carpenter ants. I know that obviously we're right now in termite swarm season.
Yep.
And there's a lot of calls I've been getting of carpenter ants.
Right.
And I don't think we've ever discussed, normally what's your approach when you're having an issue that, let's just say you got into this Gables home and they're having this issue in their kitchen.
Right.
They had one day that there was a large swarm. Then they're having a couple of days that nothing's going on. Right. There's no frass. You're not finding any visible damage. Right. Obviously, wood with moisture, which is where they tend to nest. You're not seeing any of that. You're just literally seeing them fly out. Normally, I do an exterior treatment, in all the areas where they possibly could be nesting,
right.
Mulch areas, tree barks, obviously with no fruits on them. So, you do all that, but then inside the home, they're still getting in.
Yep.
So, I've been getting that with 2 homes now.
Yep.
And I've been doing carpenter ants for a while, but for some reason, this case has been popping up, and we just don't know where to precisely attack inside, and obviously in a responsible way. I mean, what's your advice on that?
Yeah, so we've been getting a lot of calls too, and it's we have a swarm season for carpenter ants at the same time as termites.
Termites, yeah.
So we got them both now. So people are getting calls, and it's like, I got termites, and it actually turns out to be carpenter ants.
Yeah.
They're getting carpenter ants, and they think they got termites. So the customer can't tell the difference. So what I try to do is I say, send me a picture. Let me see what you're dealing with. And then I can ID if that's a carpenter ant or a termite. Yeah. But with swarms, we have a lot of homes in Florida that have really bad windows. Florida is not like the Northeast where you need really sealed windows. They need to be airtight, double pane, because of the cold air getting in. These windows are aluminum windows. They're 15, 20, sometimes 30 years old. And they're finding their way in when they're swarming. So what I tell people is, look at the area where you're finding them. And even if you put a little bit of clear tape, like just box tape around that area where the seams are, we can tell if they're coming in through there because they'll get trapped on the inside and we can see them. Okay, and then what I do is you can always treat around the outside of that window. They're still going to make it in because remember, if you're treating like with fipronil, which is very effective for carpenter ant, that can take 7 to 10 days to kill them.
Yeah.
It's not going to be instant. So what I look for around the house is there any wood piles? Any leaf piles? Is there any stumps? Look up a tree. Do I see trailing up a tree? That ant can go 100 feet. It could be in the next door neighbors. So I'm looking at all that. And then inside what I'll do is I want to know if she's seeing them with wings, she'll usually call me and say, I'm seeing them with wings, but then I'm finding the wings and I'm not finding the ant, meaning they were swarming and they dropped their wings. So my indication is, look, let's wait out 2 weeks. Because
after doing the exterior first.
Yeah, if you're doing it exterior, sometimes I won't even do it. I say, let's just wait.
Okay.
Because if they're flying in and they're finding an easy way in, you still might not get them. You're still going to have the experience of getting them in. Putting an additional product doesn't solve that problem. Because they're still correct. Then I tell them to wait. If they're telling me, listen, it's been 2 weeks, usually it goes away after 2 weeks by itself with no treatment. Done. If they're still seeing it after the swarm season is done, I usually tell them, Make sure you don't have any lights on at night in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Don't have your porch light on. Turn it off because you're going to attract them. So people say, I'm seeing them in the light, coming in and out of the light in my porch. I say, yeah, because you're leaving it on at night, right? Yeah, they're being attracted and they're nesting there. I usually do that. What I try to determine is there actually a colony inside? Is there actually a satellite nest that could be in there? So the only way to determine that is to go there at night. After the swarm is done, because they're not walking around during the day coming in and out. Usually about 20 to an hour after sundown. So what I tell the client is, I want you to be very patient. I can do it two ways. I can charge you to go out there at night and spend an hour or two hunting for them, or you can do this job and then you just tell me where it is and we can easily knock it out one shot. So what I do is I tell them, at night when you're there, I want you to sit there and where you're seeing them every day, and I want you to observe like 30 minutes after sundown where they're coming, if you see them coming in and out. You might see one. This is good. I tell them, you're going to have to be super patient. You could be there for 2 hours looking at this. And I want you to see, if you see them coming out of a hole and you see one coming out of a hole, then we know that nest is there. Then it's easy. We can go in there with fipronil foam, inject that void, and it's done. 7 days, you're done. You don't have to spray the whole house. You just inject that area. Outside, that's good, bro. Outside, we're going around. I said, go outside and see if you see them trailing in. So, because that nest could be up in the gutter in the wood. We've had it in the soffits. They're actually, the wood is rotted, and then they're up there in that nest. In that case, we get up on a ladder, we inject that area, you're done. Because in Florida, Carpenter ant is not a WDO. It's not reportable. So we can actually treat it as an ant, not as a termite or a WDO. Because it's not classified as that. So that's how I tell them. So if they say no, I don't say, I say, where do you see it? Sometimes we're seeing them in areas like on the counter, but she can't find where they're coming out. So what you can do it two ways. You can go in and put a little station with just Max Force Complete, a little buffet station with Max Force Complete.
Yes.
If you take the boric acid like thickwood and you reduce it down from a 5% with water to a 1% solution, and you put it out, anything higher than a 1%, it kind of repels them. They won't eat it because of the high boric acid content.
Oh, you mentioned that to me, yeah.
So if you get it down to like a 0.5, really water, it's just pure water with very little active ingredient in it, they will take the water, and they will and they will come back for multiple feeding, and that is one way we knock it out where we can't find
in the area where they're being found inside.
Right, and she can't see it. You know, sometimes we go in and says, "Yeah, I see it coming out of the lamp." We know it's in the attic. You need to go up in the attic. No, we just take it right there, make maybe a little incision, a little pinhole with the drill, outside, and we foam it, and we fill that area with foam, and it's done.
You take it back.
And we've had them coming out of. There was a missing screw in one of the doors, in the sliding doors, and they were actually in the nest was in there. They were just coming out of that screw. She couldn't find it. They were swarming in her living room, and at night when she was watching TV, they would be attracted. She said, "I don't know where they're coming." She wakes up one night at 12 night to get water, and she sees this massive trail, and she starts and it was in the hole. So all we did is go in the next day and just charge her for the trip to go in and inject it. Wait a week, it should be gone. Sure enough, that's how you do it. Is you can use Max Force Complete outside. I'll do a boric.
How about Entice 10? Entice 10 perimeter bait.
Entice 10 is labeled for Carpenter ant, but it's very slow. Gotcha. So it all depends on speed of, if you've got a big, like we go to houses and because they've got a lot of, like in Coral Gables and Coconut Grove, there's a lot of trees. They got a lot oak trees everywhere, and those nests could be up there. So what I do is I use outer band perimeter around the tree, around the stumps, around the whole
outer band.
And I do an outer band with Max Force Complete.
Yeah.
Around the exterior, like the fence area. So we bait that whole area around, so that if they're coming over, they're going to find it. And then we do around the tree stumps, and then do an outside perimeter of the home, maybe 3 to 4 feet, because then we can do like a Termidor or Fipronil application a foot
Yeah.
from the property. So now if they're coming across, they're going to find a bait and a liquid combination.
I have another interesting question for you. This is a mysterious one, which is happening with this particular house. Never have had this ever.
Okay.
They're having carpenter ants, which, yeah, exactly. I put the bait stations inside, the Max 4 complete stations, put out the bait. One particular area, there hasn't been any, but then there's another area that kind of they're coming out. So, you know, we're assessing that to obviously implement and some of the things you just said. I love that. But this is interesting. I don't know how this is happening. He is finding, right, the kitchen is where most of the sightings have happened. And in the living room, he is finding broken body parts of carpenter ants on the sofa. And I'm like, what? And I saw it. Broken,
Okay.
the thorax on one side, the head in another. And I'm like, this is weird. Is a roach eating this? So I asked, have you been seeing any roach activity? No roach activity. Have you ever come across that? I mean, I don't think the bait does that, right?
Well, they could dehydrate and fall apart after they're dead. That could be one scenario. They're finding, remember that it messes up once their neurotoxin is messed up. They're losing their way. They have no idea where they're going, and they could walk. The other thing that could attack a carpenter ant and taking the carcasses is a big-headed ant, because they eat proteins.
Yeah.
They take beetles apart. So I'm checking outside if we have big-headed ant nests. I'm looking around. That will be a natural predator to eat it once it's dead. But yeah, what it could be is they're just basically falling apart.
They're dried up. That's a good one.
They're drying up and they're eating the bait and then finding them ways. Like I all of a sudden I do an IGR application in a home for roaches, and we are using the disc. And people are saying, I'm finding these little roaches. Now they're wandering, but they're really slow, and they're wandering into the bedrooms. Of course, they got the bait, they got IGR, and it messes with their antennas and their sensors. Everything is messed up. So they lost perception of where they're at. So that would be an answer. I mean, I would always
That's good.
I would always look baseboards. Is there any frass coming out of the baseboards?
Yeah.
Because you could have a nest in that area. That would be a thing, putting monitors out, the glue boards in the area where you're seeing them with bait.
Yeah.
You put a little bit of bait on the glue board, put it out underneath the couch. If there's no kids, there's no dogs, not a problem. If not, you might want to do a crack and crevice with that. I mean, that's what I've found with carpenter ants. Are pretty easy. Usually, if they're just wandering in, if you're treating the exterior perimeter, you knock them out. If there's a nest, I go at night. I always tell the client, if they can't find it and they're still seeing it at night and they're not swarming anymore, then we usually will go in, make an appointment for, in the summer it's tough because we're out there at 8 and sometimes we're in a home till 10 o'clock at night.
It's a good point though. You see, man, I believe in your gospel, IPM.
Yeah, so it's really about the biology, understanding that, and that's it. It's really that it's simple. Awesome. It's not easy because there's a difference between you find an but you still have to. Oh my God, I got to stay here for 2 hours. Customers tell me, that's the patience game that we have to play, where we have to sit.
I wanted to do things right, like you said.
And the customer gets it. They're getting impatient. They don't want to sit there. They're like, no, go do something else. Come back every 10 minutes, every 30 minutes, and do it. And that's how they find it. So
I appreciate that, man. We made a note of it.
There you go. So anything else you got, that you want to talk about? Yeah. What about the business side? Anything on the business side that I can try to help with?
Man, honestly, now we discussed this a couple of I believe like 2 weeks ago in the beginning of the whole COVID-19. Yeah. How it's impacted business, even though obviously we're essential, and thank God, like for example, my commercial accounts, aside from restaurants that have shut down, a lot of my commercial accounts have stayed open. But I have residentials that I've had to switch things around. Like for example, I've offered that I only, maybe a price reduction, whatever would work, obviously to keep business as far as on that end flowing. What have you been doing? I'm just curious as far as, I know we said we're not getting many new clients. I mean, that's something that's, the percentage has dropped. Obviously, that's something we knew would happen. Yeah. But I don't know, what dynamics, what have you seen to do different just to continue to ride this out till we believe, you know, it ends.
Yeah. On the L&O part, we're steady. We haven't
Good.
seen it. There's nobody's really canceled. We've had one client like, can you reduce the service on this area? Like we took out the coconut treatment and fertilization for right now because it is a huge part. It was like $32 a month just on that. So we took that part out. But for the most part, since we're only an exterior only company, so mosquito, we did is we put an offer out for mosquito. It's an external service.
Okay.
And we did a trial offer we're using the final feed bait, which is working excellent. So we did is we put an offer out to all our clients. Say, hey, listen, we'll do a trial offer for half price for $32.50 for a small house, and we can get the mosquito business. So that helps us a little bit.
That's good.
We immediately had 10, 11 clients sign up. So that broke us even, but it kept my guy busy, you know, for an extra day and doing all those mosquito service, and it gives us an opportunity to convert them now after. And since it's raining now, we should be better. So that helped us. We haven't had too many cancellations. What we've had is, since most of the new calls, and we do a lot of one-time services for roaches for apartments, that all stopped. Almost it went to a halt for 3 weeks. Yeah. Now we're starting to see calls because people are at home and they're like, we're living with roaches. It's a problem. So we're doing it. You're taking the precautions for ant service. Since we are an exterior only company, we can actually do ant services without even having to step into the house. We prepare the little stations for them. Yeah. Put them on your counter, put them on your sink, put them in your bathrooms. We're going to treat the exterior only and deal with that. And that's it. We don't have to even come inside for that. Yeah. So that's a new way to tell the customer, listen, for ant control, we don't actually have to come in unless it's a really big problem. That if most time, if you got ants, you can just leave them. We're leaving. People are calling us, you know, hey, well, you know, are you guys servicing? But I don't want you to come in. I hope you understand. I said, no problem. Yeah. We'll just stop by and leave you 6 little stations prepared with a mix of bait. We'll use, we'll use the Max Force Complete. If we know what ant they have, we know already what problem it is on that property. We'll do Max Force Quantum. We'll use Thickwood, whatever they are. If it's an organic service, then it's, you know, the Thickwood or the Entice 10, and we'll leave the little stations for them in the door, and they'll pick them up, and we service them. They're happy. So that's good. That's good. On the restaurants, I highly advise you to, even though you're closed, to let them know, hey, listen, the chances of you getting an infestation with roaches and rodents, even though you're closed, is going to be high. Because I understand those boxes came in before 2 or 3 weeks before, and they've been in there, eggs have hatched. You're going to have a potential mess later that's going to cost you $1,000, and maybe the health department not allowing you to open. Yeah. And being shut down because of that. So I would call them back and say, listen, I can give you a break a little bit on the price. Don't stop doing it, because the dynamic hasn't changed, even though, you know, explain the life cycle of that pest. That you've got an egg, it takes 28 days. If you got a box 28 days before that, you know, restaurants here in Miami, they're buying from these places that are really cheap with no pest control, and they're getting all the time food product coming in with no care. Infested. So I just contact them and say, listen, at least let me do an inspection. Open up for me, just for me to go in, do an inspection for you. Maybe I only charge you for the inspection and not an actual treatment. If I find, look, here's roaches, let's treat, you know. And
it's a good point. Very good point.
Yeah. So that you don't, you know, and obviously commercial business that non-food, it's not going to be too big of a problem. We've had one that's a computer business. They've had rodents in the past. Rodents is the big problem. I got to still contact and say, listen, we need to go in there and inspect, because you've got electronic equipment and rodents have been the problem. So, you know, just basically. Good point. Yeah. So, you know, you got to work it out for a couple of months, where if it's a really, really good client, maybe you just charge them, hey, I just want to take a look for you. I'll do it for free. And make them happy at this time of year. You know, and they're hurting. That's awesome. I like that. I mean, I like that. Yeah, people are taking out loans. They're in debt up to their eyeballs. I know, man. A little bit of goodwill, and if that's you know, we got clients that are $200-300 a month. Send my guy out there, bro. Just, you know, they've always paid on time. They never complain about pricing. They never complain about anything. Take care of them. Yeah. And
Yeah,
that,
we've had those customers that we have that good communication and that have shut down. Like I have an Italian warehouse.
yeah,
Obviously, what's happening there, it's hit them drastically. And I've told those type of customers that I have that
yeah,
relationship, good standing. Hey man, we'll do you the service if you have any issues during this time that you're halted, and we won't charge you for that. Um,
yeah,
but I like that idea, about what you said about the business and what you said about just seeing the customers that you do have now, which is obviously, your exterior ones, and seeing if there's any present need and how perhaps at a reduced price you can meet that need, and it will help also as well with whatever losses are happening due to.
yeah. We modified our pricing. We were, we're the most expensive one right now, still in Miami, for a small company. But because of the amount of trips we have to make and the amount of time we have to spend in the home, not because we just want to be more expensive. But what I did was I said, okay, 80% of our clients, we usually solve it within 2 shots. So instead of doing 3 services, let's sell 2, and let's knock $100 off to help that client get that business, because they're obviously dialing around. And so we basically cut the price by about 53%.
Yeah,
It might be a blessing in disguise for us, because if we find out it's in troubled times that you redo things, that you reinvent things. I went from when I remember when I was having an F-150 and everybody told me you had to have a 100-gallon tank and an F-150, and gas went to almost $4 a gallon. I was spending $1,000 a month. And I said, I'm going to do this, take rid of the big tank, dump the rig. We're going to go with a 24-gallon tank. We're going to go with backpacks, and we're going to redo this. And I dropped my payment down $100 a month, and my gas bill went to like 300 and something a month. And guess what? We were able to do
awesome.
lawn ornamental with a Tacoma. So what you find in this time is that you reinvent stuff, and you're saying,
Yeah,
is the client more flexible to, like we were doing route density, and say, listen, if you can wait till Thursday, I'm going to be in that area. I don't have to make a special 30-minute drive, and we can put you between this time and this time. I can save you $100, and you're helping me, because a trip is back and forth, is just for one client when things are slow is tough. So being able to be flexible with the client is flexible with you. So we basically dropped our price $200. We reduced it 1 service. We're giving away the follow-up for free. So we're only charging the initial, and we're giving the customer the follow-up for free. I think it's goodwill. I think
awesome.
it keeps my guys busy, so that they're making at least their hours. Because they're hurting too. We had to cut the hours back. They cut their hours. They're hurting. I want to see if I can at least break even and get them fed. And that's what we have to do. I mean, it's just, they're hurting. Our clients are hurting. Everybody's out of work. We just take
we're all in this.
we just take the pain together. That's just, I think, just simple stuff that you don't have to be greedy. And
I got one more question.
Yeah. No, I got
now
time.
that you talk about this, one more question.
Go.
Are you guys offering any COVID-19 sanitation? I know that's something a lot of businesses are promoting now, sanitation, going in there, disinfecting. Are you offering that? Is that something that how do you feel about that? I know you're a man that's very by the book, so I'm very curious if it's something that you see that's even worth. Is it something that's integral, that it has integrity? You can tell the customer this is going to work. I mean, what are you doing with that?
I was actually doing research on it for over a year before this happened. We actually had it as one of the services we wanted to offer as an add-on service for our clients, because we want to be able to go into bigger accounts like gyms and nurseries and daycares and help with the influenza season to reduce that, because we know it works. But we thought about doing it as a separate brand, not part of our company. We don't want to mix the 2 things. So I thought about doing that as a separate company originally. When we did research on it, there are very good products, because this has been done forever. It's not something new. The products are there. The equipment is there. It's a matter of just learning how to do it and buying the products and the equipment and getting the insurances. The problem that we have is that insurance policies are not covering that service, because it is not considered a pest. So if you have a claim,
Got you.
you can't cover it. The insurance is expensive.
Wow.
We were looking at
Interesting.
it. So we're somewhere around $2,600 a year for the insurance. Second of all, when I understand what these products do, the products all kill on contact, and there is absolutely no residual.
No residual, exactly.
So the client is under the false impression. I just had this conversation with a client this morning. I said she does rental properties for like Airbnb.
Okay.
Several condos, and she says we had a client who got sick, and she's claiming she got sick in her room. We need to decontaminate it. Do you offer that? I said no. Here's why. And you need to get a company that actually has the license and the insurance. And what I would look for is decontamination companies that have already been in business.
Yeah.
Because they have no training. The people that are doing it have no real understanding and no training. So I said no. And this is something you can do yourself for your own unit, because if you're using quat, which is quaternary ammonia, if you get the wipes, they're all quaternary ammonia, and you can use that to wipe everything down and sterilize it. You don't need to actually fog the whole place. You could, but you don't have to. Second of all, the moment that person comes into the door and they've contacted another door and they grab that handle, that virus is on there again. The next person that touches it is going to come in contact with the virus. So there's a false sense of security that you can't sell to the client, because we have to do it. So it's in a school environment, it's proven that it reduces influenza cases, because you're spraying they're going in once a week.
Yeah.
At night when nobody's there, and they're treating the locker rooms, they're treating the desks, they're treating all the doorknobs, they're treating everything that comes in contact. So obviously you're reducing the episodes because you're reducing the contact points. But for us to do it and say, that's it, you're not going to get this. What's the residual? What's the guarantee? The guarantee is 10 minutes after it's dry.
Exactly.
It's dead. And then the next time somebody touches it, that area is contaminated. Somebody sneezed, it went all over the place. That's it. There's a false sense of security. There's a lot of good products that are approved. The EPA puts out the site that all the products that they know for human coronavirus, not COVID-19, because there's no testing on COVID-19. There's only testing on human coronavirus. COVID-19 happens to be one of them.
Yeah.
And so that is what I haven't gotten into, because I don't want to be, in other words, like a lot of my competition and a lot of people out there saying, do you offer an eco-friendly service? Yes, we offer Essentia spraying. You can't just get into eco-friendly and replace bifenthrin with Essentia.
No.
That's a Me Too service. And a lot of companies, when you don't get into that, and that's the thing, a lot of companies got into it. Here's the thing. When you got a company like Orkin, Terminex, they all got into it. But these guys can absorb a lawsuit.
Exactly.
They're self-insured in a lot of these things. So if they get a case where somebody sues them saying, well, you treated and I still got coronavirus, they can say, yes, by the way, here, we'll pay out a claim and be done with it and settle out of court.
That's a good point you brought with the insurance. I didn't think of that. Very true.
You and I forget the fact that we got insurance. The court fees alone to defend ourselves against a case will put us out of business. You lose your house and you lose your family.
Yeah. Is it worth it? In other words, is it worth?
Not when the customer is not realistic about what the expectation is, and they're expecting. You know how it is. You do a roach job and the customer says, I still have roaches after 2 days you were here. You got to wait until that takes away. We got to do follow-ups. Most customers, and remember, we're in a litigated society. Everybody is hurting right now. They're out of work. They're losing their house. Who can we sue?
Very true.
I don't want to be in that position. The third thing is, forget that you win the case, that you have the money, that you have the insurance. Can your company survive a media PR nightmare?
Exactly.
Will you ever recover from that in the eyes of your customers?
Exactly.
So when you look and you weigh it all, let the big guys have that business. A lot of guys are desperate because, hey, we're not getting any pest control. This is something I can do to jump in and get extra money.
Yeah.
Is the brand of your company and the branding you have in the image worth the risk?
So good, man. So true what you're saying.
I evaluated, I said, and I looked at the products and said, if we can find one with an actual residual, we would.
But yeah, it has a pesticide, right? Yeah, it already has a pesticide.
Well, they're all classified as pesticides. DSV DSV is nothing more than what Microban is with a pesticide label. Now Microban is called I think it's called Medicare now, or they changed the name to that because it's a quaternary ammonia, and it's no different. It's just that DSV has a pesticide label on it to treat flies.
Gotcha.
But it's still the same thing. Second of all, DSV has a danger label on it.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
have to wear a full body and respirator and the whole thing. It isn't safe. So, we're dealing with all these things, and this is what I'm talking about DSV because this is what everybody's going crazy because this is what every pest control does. We all know it, we use it, but I use it in a drain. I don't spray it around people's house. You see what
I love what you said. If you're not comfortable, and that's how it's been with me. I have buddies that, they have companies and they're jumping in on that. And that's my philosophy. If I'm not comfortable and I can't guarantee to you that this is something that I know I'm confident is going to give you results, I'm not going to jump in it. But I love the points you said about the whole, just the legal side of it, I mean, you're not being a good steward if you jump into something like that. I had a feeling it confirms what I was thinking about, but you put it in, obviously,
and again, and to me, it's just an issue of ethics. And look, it's not morally wrong if you do it. It's not unethical if you do it. There's no license required to do it. Florida doesn't require it. Now, FDAX did say that you can sell it as a pest control company. And for people who know who FDAX is the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, the ag department that covers pest control. They make a special provision for us to be able to do it without having to get a license. The caveat is that the product must be registered in Florida. So a lot of guys selling disinfectant products because it's used in mold remediation. You still need a license to do mold remediation, and you still might need a license to do bacterial control. It is a pathogen. So the always is the law of your state. They said yes, but it needs to be the product needs to be registered in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
And some of the over-the-counter stuff isn't. And there's only one product on the market that has a residual up to 30 days, but only on bacteria, because it's used for surface decontamination of where you do poultry and restaurants and food, so that if you touch it, it does transfer and it does kill, but only on bacteria for up to 30 days. There's no residual on any of these products for viruses. It will kill 99.99% of the viruses on the label. So now you get into a court battle where COVID-19 is not on the label. You said it kills COVID-19.
Yeah.
The manufacturer never said it kills COVID-19. It says it kills coronavirus. Now you get torn up in a court by an attorney who is going to just tear you apart. And I don't feel like being in that position.
Oh yeah, bro, I like this, man. I'm so thankful, really, that we just need your voice needs to be more. There needs to be more avenues, man, for people to really listen to what it is. How are you doing with the school, the Pest Geek University?
Yeah,
right?
the academy. Yeah, so we're still doing courses. It takes a long while.
Still developing.
Yeah, because what happens is I'm doing an introductory course, and it's between 10 and 11 lessons, and I'll record it. I'll do the PowerPoint, record it, spend an hour. I didn't like it. I have to record it again. So it's been, doing that, plus creating the lessons to make them concise. We want to keep them around 30 minutes. But So it's a big learning curve, plus the platform that we put it on. It's a huge learning curve to set up that platform.
Gotcha.
It is a university grade platform with testing and certification approval, so we can have the certificates on there. My buddy is creating another academy, so he's actually learning how to use the platform and setting it up, that platform, for his academy, so that we can set it up for ours, so that he's got the learning curve on that. So I'm letting him finish. That's been a huge problem. Right now we're dealing
I know
with
you told me it's been a while.
and it's been platform and creating the platform. The platform looks simple, but then when we get into it, it's more complicated than we actually taught. And then I'm creating the lessons. I'm only able to create maybe one lesson a week, so it takes me about 10 weeks. So I'm on lesson number 7 or 8 now. I'm going to be doing spill control. One of them is lessons of spill control. I want to include hazmat training for SDS training, which is mandatory.
Awesome.
So we're doing that one. So I'm trying to record maybe one, if not a week, every 2 weeks, because it takes, like I could spend easily 4 hours recording one class, because I have to do 2 or 3 takes.
Yeah.
And
it's a process. I got you.
And I don't want to be editing so much where it looks like I'm skipping here, and I want it to look natural, so I have to rehearse it. But it takes about, per class, from start to finish, before we even put it up on the platform, is about 8 hours worth of work.
Wow.
And
process.
And then figuring out what I'm going to teach, and so we're using the National Pesticide Core Manual, which is the federal manual for core, to teach it. But the problem is, what I'm trying to do, so that you understand and everybody understands, is that all of this is done from the level of compliance training.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to teach it from, and it's also taught from a agricultural mentality.
Yeah.
So things that are on the label that are usually they teach on safety and all this is based from an agricultural mentality. I'm trying to teach it from the perspective of urban IPM, which it isn't done. And this is where it's been difficult for me to
There's not much on that. There's not much.
And so I'm teaching from that perspective of urban IPM, and how do I train a technician, not only to make this effective, what he actually needs to know, so that he's quick learning, so that he can start working for you and making money for you.
Yeah.
If we make this thing where he's going to take 20 hours to learn this basic stuff, the guy's going to fall apart, because he understands you and I. But think about when you first started, this was all Greek.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm trying to make this simple, but not overly simplified, and get you the nuts and bolts that you really need.
Yeah.
Everything else you will learn along the way, because and then we're going to go into label training and other things that what I looked at is, I looked back at my life over 6 years, or my first 6 years, and I realized how little training I actually had gotten, but I had to go and get it on my own. And what I'm trying to do is take 6 years of things that I learned that I should have learned early on that I didn't, and compact into the first 10 to 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So that I bring somebody up to speed immediately on everything they need to know. And it's video form, so they get to see it, they get to re-see it. We've got slides.
Awesome.
So
it's gonna be successful. I know it.
So it's taking me a longer. I was overly optimistic about how easy it was going to be, because that's the way I approach everything. And then I still stick with it, and I'm going to do it. So I'm already up to. I was hoping I can launch maybe by the end of the month at least the free. I'm going to give away a free version, because I don't want to charge for it, because it isn't perfected. And then I want the feedback from the audience to tell me, of course, here's what I think you should have done. You forgot this. Then I'll go back into the studio, reshoot that, and then put it, and then start testing. So that's going to be like letting the crowd perfect the product for me, because there's guys out there that'll see what I don't see, have experience in their state, have experiences that I haven't had. And so I wanted to be more of a tribe community project where people help me perfect this, and then make it really affordable, because I can't charge you $200 to $300. You, as a solo guy, you can't afford that when you have maybe going to go through 1 or 2 technicians. So we're probably looking at maybe $30 to $50 for this entire course. So like, it's really easy, really.
Oh man,
really,
it's gonna be good, man. I know.
So and then plus I'm looking at doing, which you and I discussed, doing at local classes, more intimate classes.
Yeah.
For business growth, and business growth and pest control business growth where you get CEUs, but we do it when it's convenient, like on a Saturday, because you guys are out when we discussed it. So I'm looking at all this things that I want to bring on, which I might be able to do this year. Now we're stuck doing this. We might start doing classes where they're CEU approved and doing them on a Saturday morning for 1 hour, and you can go on and meet with your family.
Do you do CEU? Do you provide CEU?
I have CEU training that I have registered with the state because I've done training before at conferences. And so
Does that mean, like me, for example, that I have to renew my license? I can take those classes?
Right. I would have to put them up and I would have to reactivate them.
I got you.
So I have to let them know when we're going to give it so that they know, and the video is recorded so they know what I shot. And then if there's ever any question, the CEU is valid. So there's a lot of things that go on with the state and document keeping that I got to do for every class. But hey, if we can get 6 guys on a Saturday morning and help 6 guys out locally to take some CEUs, that's where I'm going eventually, is to get it CEU, the whole course. CEU,
awesome, man.
Which is, it's just a process. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
Much more difficult than I thought. But this is a long-term vision. This is not something I'm doing because I want to get rich quick, because I want to sell the next pest control course that people can take, and you can be a pest control guy the next day within 30. That's not what I'm shooting.
Superhero.
Yeah, I'm looking at the actual long-term value that I can provide to people over the next 10 years and to new people coming into the industry and things like that. So it's a long-term strategy. That's why I'm not in a hurry to put it out and say, I'm not rushing the product, because it's not something, well, I need to get it out because I need to make money. I don't need to make money. I know I'd be nice to make the money, but it's not something that I need. So so that's where we're at, bro.
Thanks for the update.
Yeah, man. So I love you, bro. Hey, tell people if they want to get a hold of it. There's a customer out there who says, hey, I want Kairos to do my work, which is actually, his name is Lazaro. He's not called Kairos, but I want him to do my work and he serves me. How can they get a hold of you, bro?
Yeah, hey, more than anything, thank you so much for having me, man. You're a blessing to my life. Every time I talk to you, it's like a moment of just enlightenment. I learn more and more. But so if you do want our services, if you're listening and you're a customer that's looking, if we graciously pass the radar of Frank, an amazing company that we honor and we learn from, and you want Kairos to help you with either commercial need, residential, you can contact us at 786-400-3830. We have our company website, www.kairospestcontrol.com. And we also have an Instagram page, which we're trying to get better at, which my wife is really the main one that manages that. And it's Kairos Pest Control. So you can contact us and we'll definitely help you out. Any advice you need, we're more than happy to.
And how is Kairos spelled?
Kairos is spelled Kairos.
There you go. Control. So there you go, man. Lazaro at Kairos Pest Control here in Miami, Florida. So if you're needing a local company, there you go. You're based out mainly out of the Gables area, right? So
our office is at the Gables, but yeah, we service all the way from Homestead up to just about almost Broward.
Yeah. So what I would really want for you is for you to get more Coral Gables for route density.
Yeah.
The amount of time you're spent, the more effective you can be in that area.
True.
The more customer you can get, it cuts down on your cost of traveling and doing all this. So ideally, that's where I'm focused on this year. Like, I'm focused down south this year on getting route density, because I know that that's my next thing. We're all over the place too. We service all the way up to Weston, from Homestead to Weston. So we're trying to get more of the south part here in Pinecrest and Palmetto Bay and Cutler Bay. And that's why, I'm doing a lot of this, because there is a value in, you go all over the place, but to get the customer that's right next door.
True.
When you drive out of your house 2 minutes and, there's your next 10, 15 customers just a little bit down the road. So that helps, brother. Hey, man, it's been a blast having you on. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much, Frank. Really love you, brother. All right?
Thank you, man. We'll get together soon.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Be safe.
I'll talk to you later.
All righty. Bye.